Hello everybody, welcome back. Let's have a look at ALGO, a bit of Algorand, okay? So one of my, I suppose, largest altcoin positions, yeah, for a long-term position, and one that I don't try and get too clever on. In fact, I don't get clever on it at all. It's all sitting in Coinbase of all places, getting its 4% APR staking. Because I see this working out, you know, as a decent risk to reward. Long term, it should be okay. And I'm saying long term, I'm probably only talking another between 3 to 9 months worth. But short term or medium term, things are looking interesting, right? So for those of you on the Patreon, we were talking about, you know, rotating, if you had the balls to do it, rotating from your Bitcoin position into the altcoin position at the 44.5% dominant region, or aka the center of the Bollinger Band, the 20 weekly. Which is where we've basically had significant rejections on the way down, big ones here, and then when we finally did bounce, we got a rejection here, and then we came up to test it the other day. So I said, for those of you who've got the balls to rotate your beloved Bitcoin, because we were rotating out of altcoins into Bitcoin around these zones, worked out pretty well. But if you want to get extra clever, that was the way to do it, and I suppose it's worked out, I suppose, over the last few days. Now, I mean, for me, like I say, I own quite a lot of ALGO, and I plan to continue holding it. So this is more of just an interesting video for those who hold it. But on the short-term time frames, things are looking pretty interesting. So we'll start with the with ALGO versus Tether. Right, so we've got basically this is the major resistance and breakout zone of the last. You can call it a parabolic if you like. A parabolic, large, big move up, basically forming what looks like a giant bull flag. And I think this is what it basically is. And so it started off with a giant consolidation, and then September came along. Basically, this took place within September and had a very nice pullback all the way down to this level here, the breakout zone, basically, where we're just prior to the original breakout, we had a big breakout, rejection, and then it was sliced right through it. 40% retrace, that's perfectly fine considering how big and bold it did move. So we golden crossed, we got all moving averages more or less in exactly the appropriate position, and this consolidation on the tether pairing, for what it's worth, looks like it's come to an end. It doesn't mean that this breaks out immediately. Just gives you an idea. The consolidation has ended and it's gone into a period of accumulation, and is looking to perhaps maybe break out from this level here. So anywhere above pretty much where we are, floating around today. $1.90 to $1.95 being above there offers every chance of a major breakout, and retesting at least these previous tops around here between $2.27, $2.30, and then maybe beyond, right? So we always expect more, but that's where we would be looking for an obvious target. 4 hourly, if you bring it down here, it's probably might be easier to see on an hourly, or we'll go to a 2 hourly. You can probably see it a little bit better. It's a bit messy, but it's a bit of a cup in handle kind of vibe, and this would offer the move probably up to the previous areas that we just spoke of, about $2.20 to $2.30 ish area, and then hopefully beyond. So that's your tether pair, and you've got your cupping handle on the small term time frames. We're above this resistance level on the larger term time frames, and MACD, for what it's worth, is turning up, but as it would. But the overall picture of this chart is bullish. It's in a very bullish situation. You know, every aspect of the chart looks bullish, and so we'll entertain the idea that it will remain bullish. Have a quick look on the weekly for what it's worth, if there's anything of any interest. Yes, there definitely is. So after this big massive move up here and a breakdown here, what we've got here is a conversion baseline cross on the weekly. This is one of my favourite signals. It's good on a daily. It is obviously good on a weekly, but because it's an altcoin, it means that you're exposed to the market, and the market is driven generally by Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin decides it wants to break down, then this formation, this setup, this signal, doesn't, it won't play out, because this is your entry point on this week. So this candle body here, so pretty much where the price action is right now, that was the entry point given on a weekly. We opened the candle here, and so basically where today's price action was the entry point for this long-term position to take place. We broke down 10 exponential, 7 simple, very well respected moving averages on the weekly. So again, very bullish situation on the weekly, bullish situation on the daily, and on the lower term time frames, we've got a cup in handle as well. So that's enough to give it the next drive up, like I say, to $2.20, and then see where it goes from there. Very bullish situation going on with Algorand, like extremely bullish, short term and long term. So we'll go to Bitcoin pair here. So this is the Algorand versus Bitcoin, and we're still in the consolidation pattern here, which is fine. again, Bitcoin has moved, significantly for what it's for being Bitcoin. I mean, it's moved significantly, so it drove it down from the last time we sort of met the resistance. I mean, we've been above it, Bollinger Band, but we're now definitely down below it. It's only a matter of time before this breaks out, and then when this breaks out, our major target is up to the 5,300 sat zone. Now, if we go on the longer term timeframes, on a weekly, we see a different picture being formed here, an even more bullish situation once we break out 5,200, 5,300 sats. It would offer a very large area, a massive move up to probably basically doubling in its value, just short of double. So 100% move versus Bitcoin. Probably, actually, I don't know why that is there. It's probably more along the lines of 9,400 sats. So about an 80% move or thereabouts. Whoops. And from where we are right now, which is down to this price action, it's over 100% move. But from one of the breakout zone, this major area, because you can see, obviously that it felt the pain. This chart looks pretty awful, but this whole area versus Bitcoin looks like a giant accumulation phase. And being above the cloud is something that it's not very used to. It's not really been above the cloud it was only after it did this massive big pump that it spent significant time above the cloud. Yes, it was downtrending, it was consolidating, but it's still above the cloud, and we're getting support on that cloud right now. Closing, should I say, hopefully this weekly candle on it or above it. Again, very bullish, appearance. On the weekly chart here, extremely bullish. So every aspect of this chart does look bullish. Now, when we're talking about bullishness and bullish charts, and again, this is bullish on its tether pairing massively, and there's a lot of optimism on the Bitcoin pairing. I don't want, because everybody was always wanting to chase the biggest moves, and we've done some. I do some small caps here that have done some very big moves. Like just recently, we've been, I suppose since the May dump, we've been following VRA on the way down, looking for entry points. Same with BEPRO, same with OMI. They're all working, well, maybe not BEPRO, but the other two are working out pretty well, and we get really big, massive ripping moves on this. Now, we did get a ripping move on Algorand. It did take me by surprise to see such massive moves from a coin which doesn't often do that kind of thing. It works usually slow and steady. I mean, this was a nice run up, but this basically just exploded over a period of a few days. So a little bit out of character, something's changed with it. So I don't want anyone to be under the misconception. When I'm saying this is going to be a big, massive ripping move, or I'm not even saying that that's what it is. I'm just explaining that this is a bullish chart. Things don't often, they don't always play out. Just because the chart says it's bullish, remember, we're always at the mercy of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin wants to come down, then this setup is not void. It's not as it doesn't have such an immediate effect as this poses to have right now. This looks like to have a relatively immediate effect. But when we're talking about gains and things like that, I'm always very conservative with where I'm expecting it to go. And remember, I'm not particularly trading this one. My entry points were down in the low 30s and 40s for this way back down here. So, I've ridden it up, down, sideways, all over the place. And I've done some futures trading on it. But generally, it's a matter of me buying it and holding it because I expect something much bigger to come of this. And we might be moving into that next level, that next phase. There's certainly a different change of behaviour here, a bit more aggressive than before. And given what we saw just on the Bitcoin pairing, once this area is taken out, then it really would change its behaviour, because we've been stuck below this trend line, this resistance line, for such a long period of time, its entire life. But again, changes of behaviour is what's important. First time it's lived above the cloud, and on a weekly, and of course it got rejected from here. This is to be expected. Wham, bam, bang. That's to be expected. But when it breaks out from here, it won't just change its behaviour. I mean, it's already changing it now. It will go into a new phase of what could potentially be extremely bullish Algorand, unlike the Algorand that we've seen in the past. And given what we saw on the weekly Algorand versus tether pairing conversion baseline cross, this is a signal at this price. Specifically, candle body opened here, signal was generated at the time of that candle body opening. That was an entry price, obviously for spot, not for margin, but for spot. This is a weekly signal here suggesting long-term continuation. Obviously, you've been, if you had bought that there, I mean, I'd be confident in doing that given this setup, and I'd be happy to watch it go down and do whatever, because I believe in this indicator. It's a very, very powerful indicator, and has a very high degree of success, right? Not 100%, but it's pretty high. It almost always works for me, and And so I'd be quite happy with that. And at the moment we're basically at that just at or maybe below that entry price for those who would have seen that and taken that opportunity. Again, when you get a weekly indicator like this that takes place, don't expect it to launch immediately. But the good thing is that on the lower term time frames, you've got the cupping handle. On the daily and obviously weekly or whatever, we're above this level of resistance. It looks really good short term, long term, and definitely a decent place. Well, not definitely. I'm not a financial advisor, so you take your entries appropriately. But I don't see a problem personally for taking a position at this level for a spot position anyway. For what would be the long term, and maybe we're talking long term. My targets are always very conservative. So we just talked about just short of 100% move. Maybe that would be it. But it does appear to be changing now. Its behaviour is changing. It could be going into a different phase, which would be a much more bullish phase, maybe even way more aggressive than previously. And we'll see where the top targets take us. Obviously, our previous all-time high was basically where its inception price, $3.44. So if we get up to there and above, then obviously anything is technically possible. But for the moment, short term, long term, all looks very good. Very positive chart across the board, and I'm really very pleased that this is one of the largest altcoin positions that I have, and not phased in any way with the ups and the downs. With a situation like the one I'm looking at right now, I'm very happy just to hold this one and let it go and do its thing. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.